Miss A fled Spain with her 2 children to escape her abusive former partner. He then tried to force the children's return to Spain by filing a Hague Convention International Child Abduction petition in New York Federal Court. Defending these cases can be very challenging. Luckily, Davis Polk and Wardwell have developed an expertise in representing survivors in hate cases, and I was thrilled when they agreed to take this case. They put together a powerhouse litigation team to represent Miss A in an expedited multi-day trial in the Southern District of New York. It was an immense effort that resulted in the court allowing the children to stay safely in the U.S. with their mother. In his decision, the judge praised Davis Polk, saying that their pro bono work on the case was, quote, in the finest tradition of this district. I am so grateful to the entire Davis Polk team. Thank you to Brendan, Molly, Meredith, James, Ryan, Matthew, Zoe, Maria, Paul, Emma, Jacqueline, Dara, Amy, and Esther for your incredible service.
By working with our client, I learned that trauma responses to gender-based violence are painfully indicative of abuse that a victim has suffered. When engaging in sensitive dialogue or trial preparation, it is important to acknowledge and validate the emotions that arise, and to work with these emotions rather than against them to achieve the best outcome for your client. I will never forget the moment we told our client that she had won her case in the district court. Her emotions were unbelievably raw and moving, and I don't think there was a dry eye amongst any of the team members. As one member said shortly after, a moment like that only happens once. I fostered a uniquely close relationship with our client, who is the most courageous and caring woman and mother. It was my first pro bono case as an attorney, and it was her first time so publicly confronting her abuser. We both learned a lot, and quickly, grew as women, and achieved so many things for the first time together.
Rachel was trapped in an extremist religious sect led by her own father. A dutiful daughter, Rachel married the man selected for her and bore 6 children. When child welfare authorities began to investigate its child-rearing practices, the group fled the U.S. and moved first to Canada and then Guatemala. Suddenly, Rachel's father died and her older brother took over. He imposed even more extreme, dangerous rules on the group and soon ordered the marriage of her 13-year-old daughter. Rachel began to resist and fight back. Her brother ordered her children to be taken away and Rachel to be cast out. Rachel escaped in the middle of the night, taking her children with her to New York. Just when she and her children were beginning to recover from their ordeal, her husband filed for the return of the children under the Hague Convention. That's when an incredibly dedicated, sensitive, and strategic pro bono team at Weil, Gotshal & Manges agreed to represent Rachel in this very challenging case. The team consisted of Stephen Reese, Adam Hemlock, Rachel Crosswell, Selma Haverick, Liz Klinger, and Xiaoxi Tu. In the course of the representation, Xiaoxi moved to Freshfields and recruited Timothy Howard and Nate Montalto. The Weil team worked very hard to build a relationship of trust with Rachel and succeeded brilliantly. Rachel's husband could see that the case was not going well. Increasingly, he became less and less cooperative. He refused to provide documents ordered by the court, to appear at his deposition, and to testify in person at trial. The team filed a motion to dismiss the father's Hague petition with prejudice, and the court would go on to grant its motion. But before the dismissal was final, just as Rachel and her children were beginning to feel safe, the sect, who had them under surveillance, lured away her eldest 2 children and spirited them across the border and into Mexico. Fortunately, the FBI was able to locate the children and return them to New York, where they charged 7 members of the sect with kidnapping. The dismissal of the Hague case enabled a Brooklyn family court judge to move forward, granting Rachel the longest order of protection possible and sole custody of her children.
I was asked by a couple of partners at Weil if I would like to help out on this case. I hadn't heard about Sanctuary before. I'd never done a Hague Convention case, but as soon as I met Nicole and Dorchin and the rest of the staff, I was immediately impressed. They were really true partners through it all, through this case, and I knew we were in good hands. The best part of this case was meeting my client and getting to know her, her family, and her community. The way that she's handled everything dealt to her is so impressive. Her kindness and sense of justice and her sense of humor are traits that I and many others who know her really admire. She told me once jokingly, "We're the same age, but I've lived longer." And that's definitely true. I look up to her. So we had a good case on the merits, and I think we would have won at trial, but we actually ended up winning the case earlier and without needing to subject our client or her children to what could have been a pretty traumatic experience of testifying in front of their abusers, essentially. The father of the children happened to be in another country, and he wanted to appear remotely by telephone at trial. We thought that wouldn't give us an adequate opportunity to cross-examine him. So our team, especially my colleague Selma Haverick, did some research and realized that because the father is an American citizen, he can be compelled to testify in person in the United States through the Walsh Act. So we got court approval to serve the Walsh Act subpoena for him to appear in person, but he dodged service, and he repeatedly dodged service. And on that basis, we brought it to the judge, and the judge dismissed the case with prejudice, and we won.
I am so excited to present this next award for a team of attorneys who went above and beyond on behalf of my client. This team began several years ago with an order of protection trial, which Ariana Markel and a fantastic team from Paul Weiss litigated amazingly. Ariana did beautifully. Our client testified very compellingly, and Ariana was able to withstand extensive objections by opposing counsel. And our client, as a result of the amazing legal work and the teamwork of this entire team from Paul Weiss, to obtain a 5-year final order of protection on behalf of our client. The opposing party appealed the order of protection, and once again, Paul Weiss jumped in, and other members of the team, including William and Robert and Paige, fought the appeal and won. Then, fast forward to round 3. Now we are in the midst of contested custody litigation. The trial has been going on for well over a year now, and now Paige is the chief counsel on the case, litigating the case under my supervision. And Paige has been at Paul Weiss, and at some point in the middle of the trial, moved law firms and is now at Cohen, Leibowitz, and Latman. And I want to especially acknowledge that when Paige was interviewing with the new firm, she said, "I want to take this case with me," which is really extraordinary. And we are now in the middle of the trial, which is going very well, knock on wood, but there are current favorable temporary orders that are setting my client up well. And it has been a multiple-year litigation. So I just want to acknowledge the incredible teamwork of this multiple people who have worked on behalf of my client for many years now. Ariana, Paige, William, Robert, Michael, Audra, Randall, and Malika. Thank you. Thank you for your incredible teamwork on behalf of my client.
My relationship with our client by far has been the most rewarding part of this experience. I think she's one of the strongest, most resilient people I've ever met, and it's just been such a highlight of my legal career so far to get to work with her and get to know her. We joke that at this point she should have an honorary law degree because of everything she's learned over the last few years. I joined this case over 2 years ago when Paul Weiss got involved, but the case itself has been going on over 4 years. And at that point, as the client, it would be really easy to be frustrated, to be ready to give up. But I've never seen that from this client. She just pushes through and does everything she can to advocate for herself and her children. In addition to working full-time and raising kids, she's also come back to school to give herself and her children a better life. And it's just been really great and really rewarding to work with her and with Sanctuary. This case has been really important for my legal career because at the same time as I've been able to advocate for this really amazing person, I've also gotten a lot of great experiences myself. I've been able to take our client's direct examination, argue motion in limine, do drafting and legal research that's been really important for our case. And I'm lucky that the team especially Jennifer at Sanctuary, has provided amazing guidance and feedback, and trusted me to do these things. And also that the client trusted me and I got to learn and grow as an attorney. So I'm just really grateful for this experience.
Our client was sued in Supreme Court by her husband after she reported incidents of sexual assault committed by her husband towards her to the police. He made a retaliatory claim for defamation and hundreds of thousands in money damages, as well as sought an injunction to prevent her from discussing his abuse, saying he was denied a promotion. Joseph Sanderson of Steptoe & Johnson, LLP, got an incredible result. He was able to obtain a stipulation of discontinuance, thus minimizing the in-court time for the client and ending the case, which was the best possible result for her. Mr. Sanderson not only swiftly dealt with the legal issues, but he made the client feel secure, comfortable, and confident in her position. Thank you so much, Joseph, for your dedicated representation and for going above and beyond.